Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. I was dropping my dog off at the vet's the other day, just across the way over here, and looked across the street and noticed all this wonderful sweet clover. And honeybees love sweet clover. It blooms usually it blooms until early August, or certainly the second half of July. There's plenty of growth left in this plant yet. Sweet clover is a very deep root, very deep tap root, so it can take water and nutrients from very deep down the soil. So it's very commonly in areas like this, which is gravel and grit and the sort of stuff they sweep off the roadsides as landfill. But look how much of it there is. They've used a lot of this fill material to make up this area in a little industrial park. There's probably 4 acres of sweet clover, which for this area is terrific. And a bit further down towards those buildings there's another little patch of it, maybe another acre or 2. But honeybees are all over this stuff, and I'm hoping that most of these honeybees are mine, because my bees at the Good Shepherd Food Bank are only about less than half a mile in that direction as the bee flies, maybe a third of a mile. So they've got a little bit of forage over here. It's probably not enough for 20 hives, but it's something to contribute to there being a little more than a dearth going on. A lot of the clover, the white clover and that sort of thing, has slowed down in nectar production. But hopefully this sweet clover is producing something right now. Certainly the bees are working it hard, and you can tell by the way they're taking the flowers. They're sticking their tongues down all of these little florets and getting some nectar out of every one. So I'm going to go over to the Good Shepherd Food Bank now. Let's check that yard and see how they're doing honeyflow wise. There's been a lot of rain on and off here, so we're not suffering anymore from a shortage of water. We're just in danger of losing the honeyflow just through the season, the time of year. We're normally entering the dearth at this time. I think the lack of rain up until about 2 weeks ago curbed the honeyflow, and it's very hard for plants to come back from being slowed down in their nectar production. But I'm hopeful that this sweet clover will contribute to that yard producing something for us. So we'll go and have a look. So we're here at the yard, and as well as the sweet clover down the road, we've also got things like the white clover still in bloom here. So we still have bees working that white clover. So they're still getting a nectar flow from these sources, and hopefully getting something from the sweet clover just down the road. There's certainly still activity at the hives, fanning of the hives to cure nectar. So externally we have the signs of there being a nectar flow on. Question is, what's it look like inside the hives? Let's pop a couple open and see what we find. Given that we've got some hive with mean characteristics here, I'm going to put a bit of smoke around the place. Everyone's had a touch of smoke. Keep everybody nice and calm. And these ones have hadn't done much with the soup as they've got so far. much happening there. The foundation is not getting drawn. Check a few more. Lots of foundation, still not being built. It's built a little bit, not much else. The frames in between have some nectar. Of all the hives, this is the only one that's shown some signs of real development, where comb is getting built in the new foundation. But I still wouldn't say it warrants another super. I'm not going to bother this hive, which had the new queen added to it last week. Give them time to settle. We'll check the others here. See, nothing going on in these. Some bees up here, they're working and cleaning the frames that are drawn, but there's not enough of a honey flow for them to draw new comb. So whilst I don't think they're losing weight, and what I want to get myself is a hive scale, they're not putting weight on either, so they're probably just about maintaining themselves. So to be honest, I really don't need to go into all the other hives. I've seen enough to tell me, okay, we've got enough honey flow to help them maintain their weight, but they're not getting enough to start filling up honey supers. So especially as the honey supers I've got right now haven't got any drawn comb in them, so I won't be adding any honey supers to this yard today. So, but other yard, it's different from yard to yard to yard. So I'm going to go and check out another yard now. Okay, let's see how things are doing in the Bangor yard. External features are that the bees look reasonably busy here, but nothing special. When I drove up, I thought, well, they look like they're flying to and from the hives with a little bit more urgency, but as I get a bit closer up, I don't see anything particular going on here. Having said that, I don't see them bearding up, so they're working. Some hives more than others. So let's see what's happened. It's actually been a few weeks since I've been into this yard, so there could be some progress from earlier on I just haven't seen. Well, this is a heck of a lot better than the other yard. Lots of white on the tops of the combs. So this hive could easily take another super right now. Whether that's been filled up in the last couple of days or the last couple of weeks, it's hard to tell. Putting another super on may be redundant, but it's worth. Looking in the brood chamber next to it, and the combs look nice and wet. That is always a good sign. Everything looks shiny, full of royal jelly, and I see shiny nectar at the top of the combs here. So this is a good sign here. Plenty of building going on, plenty of brood, fresh eggs. I even see the queen, first framer pulled out. Lots of royal jelly and shiny nectar. So there's more probably going on in this yard than there is in the other yard. Remember, these yards were split right down early in the season, taking a bit of coming back. In contrast, nearly filled with honey. It's pretty good. So this hive has got the strength to build up quite a bit. A lot of propellizing going on. We'll put a super on that hive. Well, there's certainly been more progress in this yard. Put on half a dozen supers, but that could also be the gap between visits, which was longer here than in the other yard. I'll continue to visit the other yard just to see if there's any more supers required, but for now looks like the honey flow is slowed right down. They're not losing weight, so there is some honey flow going on, which is good. They're building, they're raising brood, and they're drawing a little bit of comb. So that's a good sign. Well, I've been checked through the Monroe yard and not a drop of a sign of honey flow here. So significantly less than I saw in the other two yards. There's probably been enough for them to maintain some weight, but that's about it. If anything, they may have lost a little weight. At the Winterport yards now, and just judging by the activity around the hives, they are much busier. There seems to be more significant honey flow in the area, and although not all of them have developed that well, but these hives had much lower populations. Some of these are doing very well. Just added a third honey super to this double nuke. Over a queen excluder, just added a third honey super. I've added a few more honey supers. There's an additional honey super on this one, additional honey super on that one. This one's on the double nuke, that was on a single deep. This double nuke is just at the stage where it needs new honey super, where this colony has filled up 3 frames, this colony has filled up 2.5, 3. They're just about to go into the middle frames here, so coming along nicely. These two are working more in unison, more in the middle, as opposed to as if there were 2 separate units. This is not quite ready for another box, but this is filling deeps as opposed to this one filling mediums. So coming along nicely. Let's get some more honey supers on. So certainly more of a honey flow in Winterport. What happened last year. Hopefully the other Winterport yard will be similar. These are both double nukes. Really good population in that. Those two. Pair one on these ones. Full of honey. Capped honey from wall to wall. Very nice. That'll take a deep. Just had a deep super. So it's a bit more advanced than that one before, and that's not ready yet. Whew. It's about 85 degrees and I am warm. One more Winterport yard to check and we'll see how the honey flow has been on the other side of Winterport. But I'm pleased with this. And my other Winterport yard, there's a bit of a flow on. I've put on the last of my supers, about 4 or 5 more supers there. So there's still a bit of a honey flow here. The other Winterport yard probably had the stronger. But in most places I would say the honey flow has just about come to an end. But it's still petering on in a few places. And hopefully we will get an early goldenrod flow this year. But for now we just have to watch and see, because we're getting little bits of flow here and there. We've had so much rain that really anything can happen right now. So we'll keep an eye on things. You never know with bees, they'll always surprise you. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.